What if I told you that the youngest Duggar has just made the boldest move in the family's history? Josie Duggar, once the tiny miracle baby viewers watched grow up on 19 Kids and Counting, has reportedly defied her father Jim Bob's strict rules and married against his wishes. Yes, you heard that right. The youngest of the Duggar children is said to have chosen love on her own terms, ignoring the family's decades-old courtship rules and Jim Bob's control. For years, the Duggars have been known for their rigid traditions, modest dress codes, chaperoned courtships, and marriages carefully approved by parents. Every decision, from who they date to how they live, has been shaped by the patriarch's iron grip. But Josie's shocking step away from that legacy marks a seismic shift that no one saw coming. In this video, we're diving into the details of Josie's alleged marriage, what this bold decision reveals about the next generation of Duggars, and how it's creating new cracks in a family already plagued by controversy and division. Is this the beginning of a new Duggar era? One where the children break free from the rules of the past? Stay tuned, because the answers might surprise you. From the outside, the Duggars appeared to be America's picture-perfect family. With 19 kids and counting on TLC, they open their home to millions of viewers, sharing their daily routines, faith, and unique family traditions. Later, when the original show ended, Counting On carried the story forward, focusing on the older Duggar children as they began families of their own. For years, audiences were fascinated by how the Duggars managed such a large household while sticking to their deeply held beliefs. At the center of all this was Jim Bob Duggar, the patriarch. Known for his strong personality and strict authority, Jim Bob was more than just a father. He was the final voice on nearly every decision in the household. From finances to education to even what the kids wore, Jim Bob's influence shaped nearly every aspect of the Duggar children's lives. One of the family's most talked about practices was their rules on dating and marriage. The Duggars didn't allow traditional dating. Instead, they promoted courtship, which they described as dating with a purpose. This meant supervised outings, no hand-holding until engagement, no kissing until the wedding day, and parents, especially Jim Bob, heavily involved in every step of the relationship. Any potential suitor had to pass Jim Bob's approval before moving forward, and he often acted as the gatekeeper between his daughters and anyone interested in them. This strict system highlighted the importance of obedience and purity in Duggar culture. Many of the Duggar children followed these rules closely, marrying young, often within a year of meeting their partners, and immediately starting families of their own. Fans came to expect this pattern as part of the Duggar brand. But what makes Josie's story so different is her place in the family. Josie Duggar isn't just another child, she's the youngest of the 19. Born prematurely at just 25 weeks, she came into the world fighting for her life, and for years viewers saw her as the miracle baby of the family. Growing up in the public eye, Josie was treated as the cherished final blessing in Jim Bob and Michelle's long line of children. Because of that, many fans assumed she would be even more protected, even more closely guarded than her older siblings. So when news broke that Josie may have defied her father's wishes in the most dramatic way possible, by marrying outside of the rules, it shocked both fans and critics alike. Her position as the youngest, the baby of the family, makes her choices carry a weight that's different from her older brothers and sisters. As Josie Duggar steps into adulthood, reports surrounding her relationship timeline have started to surface, painting a picture that few fans expected. For years, the Duggar family has emphasized the principles of courtship, strict rules on dating, and the requirement of parental approval, especially from Jim Bob, before any major romantic step. Yet Josie's story appears to have unfolded in a very different way. According to insiders close to the family, Josie began quietly seeing someone outside of her father's oversight. Unlike her older siblings, who often had their relationships documented on 19 Kids and Counting or Counting On, Josie's path was far more private. She reportedly met her now husband through mutual friends, away from the structured environment of her family's church and without Jim Bob's direct involvement. So, who is the man Josie chose to marry? Early reports suggest he is not part of the tight-knit, ultra-conservative circles that Jim Bob has long preferred for his daughters. He comes from a more mainstream background, works in a career outside of ministry, and does not appear to subscribe to all of the Duggar family's rigid belief systems. To fans familiar with the Duggar household, this was nothing short of shocking. The idea that Josie, the youngest child who was once so carefully shielded by her parents, would step out and choose a partner so independently marks a huge departure from the Duggar way of life. Unsurprisingly, the marriage has sparked alleged arguments between Josie and her father. Reports suggest Jim Bob was adamant that Josie reconsider, emphasizing the importance of family values, authority, and public image. Josie, however, stood her ground, insisting that she deserved to make her own choice. For many who have followed the Duggar story, this moment represented a generational clash, one where the youngest child dared to question the authority that had governed her entire upbringing. Reactions from her siblings have been mixed. Privately, some are said to be supportive, quietly admiring Josie's courage to step outside of their father's shadow. Others, particularly those who remain closely tied to Jim Bob's teachings, are rumored to have distanced themselves, worried about what Josie's independence might mean for the family's reputation. Publicly, though, most of the Duggar siblings have kept their responses cautious and vague, either offering polite congratulations or avoiding the subject altogether. The Duggar brand, after all, has always thrived on presenting a united front, even in times of internal tension. Josie's marriage, then, isn't just about a young woman choosing a husband. It's about the broader question of whether the Duggar children, especially the youngest, will continue to follow the strict path laid out by their parents, or whether they will begin carving out lives on their own terms. When Josie's marriage decision came to light, all eyes naturally turned to Jim Bob Duggar. His entire public image has been built on control, authority, and his unshakable role as the head of the Duggar household. For decades, his word has been treated as law within the family. So what happens when the youngest child, the very daughter he raised under the tightest version of the Duggar rules, defies him openly? Some insiders suggest that Jim Bob's first reaction may not have been shock, but anger. After all, if a Duggar child marries outside of his blessing, it's not just a private matter, it's a challenge to the structure he spent years upholding. Others believe he may have chosen a different tactic: silence. Publicly ignoring the situation would allow him to maintain the appearance of control while avoiding giving Josie's rebellion more attention than necessary. Still, Duggar watchers know that behind closed doors, silence doesn't mean acceptance. It often means simmering disapproval. Michelle Duggar's position in this fallout is equally fascinating. For much of their marriage, Michelle has stood by Jim Bob's side, echoing his teachings and modeling submission for their children. But when it comes to Josie, the story may be different. As the youngest child, Josie has always held a special place in Michelle's heart. Reports hint that Michelle may quietly support Josie's decision, even if she won't publicly contradict Jim Bob. Could this be a rare moment where Michelle's maternal instincts outweigh her husband's authority? If so, that quiet support might be one of the few things keeping Josie tethered to the Duggar family at all. Then there are the siblings. By now, many of the older Duggar children have walked their own paths, sometimes cautiously, sometimes boldly, away from their father's expectations. Jill Duggar, for instance, famously distanced herself and openly acknowledged the strain of Jim Bob's control. Jinger Duggar has also carved out a different lifestyle, moving to California with her husband and rejecting many of the strict rules she grew up with. With that history in mind, it's easy to imagine that siblings like Jill or even Jessa may quietly cheer Josie's independence. They know better than anyone what it means to step away, and they also know the cost of doing so. Josie's choice, then, doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a growing pattern. Each Duggar child who has dared to step outside of Jim Bob's rules has left cracks in the once unshakable Duggar brand. And now, with the youngest child taking one of the boldest steps yet, those cracks may finally be splitting wide open. As Josie Duggar's marriage news spread, the reactions from the fan base were anything but unified. On one side, a wave of supporters rushed to her defense. They praised her decision as an act of bravery, a bold declaration of independence from the strict rules that have defined the Duggar household for decades. For many, Josie's move symbolized hope that even the youngest member of the family could break free from the control of Jim Bob's authority and write her own story. Fans celebrated her courage, calling it the ultimate rebellion against a system that has often been criticized for silencing individuality. But not everyone is applauding. Critics within the Duggar fan community argue that Josie may be too young to fully grasp the weight of her choice. Some speculate that she has been influenced by friends, cultural shifts, or even online pressures to reject her family's traditions. To these detractors, her marriage isn't seen as empowerment. It's viewed as a reckless move that could come with painful consequences down the road. The debate has created a sharp divide, leaving even longtime Duggar followers at odds. And this split isn't just about Josie. It speaks to something much larger. For years, the Duggars have built their public image on unity, order, and unwavering adherence to faith-driven values. Josie's decision, however, exposes a deeper truth. The family's once unshakable legacy is beginning to fracture. Younger Duggars are carving out new paths, rejecting courtship rules, and living outside of their father's shadow. What was once seen as an unbreakable dynasty is now unraveling in real time. This raises a powerful cultural question. Are the Duggars losing control of their family narrative? With Jill openly distancing herself, Jinger writing a tell-all, and now Josie making a dramatic break from tradition, the Duggar name no longer represents the single, unified vision it once did. Instead, it has become a battleground between the old guard and the new generation, between control and freedom, between silence and independence. The bigger picture is clear. Josie's choice isn't just personal. It's a symbol of a generational shift, one that could permanently redefine how the Duggars are remembered. The family's grip on its legacy is slipping, and the world is watching closely as the youngest child sparks one of the boldest challenges yet to Jim Bob Duggar's authority. Josie Duggar's alleged decision to defy her father's wishes and marry the man of her choice isn't just a personal milestone. It's a bold statement against decades of strict Duggar tradition. For a family long defined by rigid rules, obedience, and Jim Bob's authority, this moment could mark the beginning of a new chapter. It forces us to ask, is this the turning point where the Duggar children begin rewriting their own stories, free from the shadow of their parents' expectations? Will Josie's courage inspire other siblings to stand up for their independence, or will it deepen the fractures already visible within the family? One thing is certain. This choice will echo far beyond Josie's life. It has the power to reshape not only her own future, but the very legacy of the Duggar family. Josie Duggar's decision to marry against her father's wishes may just be the biggest shift we've ever seen in this famously traditional family. Whether you see it as rebellion or independence, one thing is certain. The Duggar legacy will never be the same again. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.